Welcome to The Wing, the emotional and financial health check you never knew you needed.
Hello, ladies. Welcome to another episode of The Wing. Today, we are joined by our guest, Jill Hogan. Hello, Jill.
Hi.
Jill and I have known each other for a very long time. I think we're probably approaching a decade at least. We've been friends, colleagues, business associates, and we have a ton of mutual contacts and clients over the years. So we thought it was only appropriate to get Jill onto the podcast and tell us a little bit more about her own insights in becoming a mum and her professional journey, how that sort of all tied in. But to give Jill a bit of an introduction so we can get to know Jill a little bit. So she's a journalist and professional storyteller by trade. For years, she's written about food, wine, travel, health and property, architecture and everything in between. So I personally think Jill is a great storyteller. She has just launched her own, what would you call it, Jill? Your own online edition called Wellness Edited.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like a little mini glossy mag, but in your inbox. And we like to keep things short and sharp because goodness knows everyone has enough on their plate.
I love that. When I first read that as part of like Jill's first edition, that when I subscribed, it was like, okay, this is going to be really useful. She interviews different people and pulls on different resources and it obviously tells stories in her own experience and in her own way. So it's definitely worth a subscribe. I'll mention it again at the end. But for now, Jill and I are going to get into some conversation as we like to do on The Wing. So we're going to frame this around motherhood, babies that don't sleep that well, women looking after themselves or not looking after themselves. And we're also going to touch on some anxiety topics as well. Jill, let's start with talking about women putting themselves last. Can you tell me more about your personal experience and your outlook on that particular topic?
Absolutely. I think most women will absolutely agree. We're brought up to be the nurturers, right? It's our job to look after everyone else, and that usually means putting everyone else first, and there is never enough time for us at the end of the day. That's certainly something that I know that I did for a very long time, and anyone who has had a baby will know once a kid or kids come along, you just get pushed even further to the bottom of the list. That really was a big turning point for me. I think for a long time you can get by, right? You can get by because there aren't that many demands on your plate. But when a little person comes along and they take up all of your time and energy, all of a sudden it doesn't work so well anymore. And having a baby brings up all of the things and magnifies all of the things. So that was really where I think it took me a good couple of years to realize that how I was going was not sustainable. And what I really realized was I thought that if I didn't put myself last, I was not being a good mum. I was not being a good wife. I was not being a good friend. I was not being a good anything. And as I have now realized, depletion is not a badge of honor. Pushing myself to absolute the end of my rope, all that meant was everyone around me was getting the absolute worst version of me. And anything that I tried to do to change things, it just didn't stick because I was, as they say, pouring from an empty cup.
That's it. It's when you're operating at, 10%, 5%, 2%, that's all you're giving to the people around you. And being able to realize that, I think you made a good point, Jill, is that we get into this mess and then we kind of go along the path of motherhood and we're just doing the do and booking appointments and making sure everybody's vaccinated on time and managing the household and managing your own career and your own business and whatever you're up to personally. But you really do, it's very easy to let yourself fall by the wayside. And I think most women would probably be able to put their finger on a time when they either burnt out, ended up in a pile of tears or, a heaving mess and thought, right, something's got to change. But getting to that stage can be a really painful process. So did you have a particular moment in time that you realized, like a pivotal moment for you where you thought, okay, this is not sustainable?
I'd love to have a glorious moment that's all packaged up that I can tell you about. I don't, it's not, and look, that's life, right? Life's not that beautiful. It was messy. It happened over a long series of moments. The crunch point for me and our family was definitely living interstate from family, having a baby. It was still very COVID-y. Getting around was still, a bit tricky, as in traveling interstate, and having a baby who just cried all of the time and never slept, just never seemed to be happy, just having absolutely no support whatsoever. That's when I guess everything really came to a crux. And 18 months after my son was born, we moved interstate to be near family. And then once I suppose we had the tiniest little bit of breathing space, I was able to start changing things. So I guess that was a really big turning point. But again, everything happened gradually. But I think the biggest thing and the biggest realization was I'm like, I think, Katey, you are too, really, you're type A perfectionist, right? And if something's not perfect, it doesn't count. And
Mm.
that was ruining me, right? That
Yeah.
was ruining me because nothing's ever perfect. And when I embraced just messy, imperfect action, when I embraced the mess, that's when things really changed. I almost turn it into a bit of a game, right? Like the more that's burning and like breaking down around me, the more fun it is to actually tick something off, no matter how tiny or potentially insignificant it might be. It like everything is little steps lead to positive motion and positive action, and yeah, that's I guess where things turn around for me.
That's a really positive outlook. And I was just picturing that. I was picturing myself in my kitchen with literally things everywhere and just thinking, if I just complete this meal, then that's a huge win. Does it really matter if there are 5,000 toys on the floor and some noisy toddlers running around? Well, no. If everybody's okay and you're still just doing the do, then you've got to be okay with being okay. And that's, like you said, yes, type A perfectionist. And it's really hard. And I know you listened to my episode on unrelenting standards, quite literally diagnosed with that. So
I've had a
having
therapist tell me the exact same thing, Katey, so I understand.
it's quite the realization, isn't it? Because you get to a stage where you're like, okay, I'm just being ridiculous. Like or everyone around me is being ridiculous, and it's just not good enough. And then once you have that sort of realization, it changes things and can change your outlook. I have a mug on my kitchen bench as well that just says, "Embrace the chaos, for one day it will be but a memory." I find it really hard to embrace the chaos sometimes, but I think listening to your analogy is probably going to help me a lot, because you start to prioritize and think what matters and what doesn't. If everybody's safe and well, then that's fine. If the house is a bit of a mess for a temporary piece of time, then okay, we're just going to have to move through that.
And I think as well, for so long, and I think so many people are the same, I was always looking for the fix, or I was looking for this destination where something was better, whether it was, trying to improve. Well, for example, like I live with generalized anxiety disorder. I've had it forever. It's how my brain works. And I think for so long I wanted to fix it. I was
Mm.
trying to figure out how to make it go away. And I'd do all these things. And of course, it took me a long time to realize it's never going to go away. This is how my brain is. This is how I am. And you know what? There are some parts of it as well of having anxiety that if I hack it the right way, they're actually they're my superpower, right? And when I finally learnt to don't get me wrong, I've done a lot of things that help, I guess, quieten it, which I'll talk about. But when I stopped trying to chase this perfect destination, even like you in the kitchen, there's no perfect destination, right? And once you let go of that, beautiful things open up to you.
That's so fascinating. Let's talk about the generalized anxiety next, because I'm really keen to get into that. You just made me think of something. I find myself walking around the house and like I'm always going somewhere, but I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm just like obsessively compulsively walking to the laundry, just to like be on my phone or, send a text or listen to a voice note or something. And then coming back and then I've just got to go upstairs. Or like I'm just constantly trying to go for these little, like not a big destination, obviously, but just like trying to escape some of the chaos. And I find myself doing that all the time. And maybe that is a part of the anxiety piece, definitely. Let's get into that. Can you go into a little bit more detail about the generalized anxiety and your journey, basically?
Yeah, it's not something I really knew about or I guess understood until I'm not actually sure, maybe about a decade ago, maybe a little bit longer, but like thinking back to my childhood, it's always been so many things now about me as a kid make sense when looked through the lens of anxiety, I guess. I'm like most people these days where especially back then mental health was just absolutely not something anyone talked about. And as someone who is a perfectionist, all I saw it as was a way that I was broken. I didn't even want to face it. Like I said, I just wanted it to go away. I have had bouts of depression as well throughout my life. Like I know, and I know I'm far from alone. I did actually once go on antidepressants a very long time ago. They weren't for me. I didn't notice any difference. For me, I've always managed my mental health in other ways, and I've found other ways that work better for me. Obviously, everyone's journey is so different, and I know that other people who antidepressants, the right ones, and it can be very tricky to find the right ones and find the right amount, have been the thing that changed everything for them, right? So everyone is completely different. Everyone's got to find their own solution. The one thing I definitely know to be true is everything is made better by accepting and talking about things. And the more that people do not talk about mental health and do not talk about their struggles, the worse we're all off. So I am passionate, and I definitely am going to delve into this more in the newsletter, talk to a lot more people, professionals, psychologists and those sorts of people who can help people out, I guess, who are out there who don't know how to talk about it. It's a terrifying thing to talk about. I understand that, but for anyone who is in that place and feels like maybe they might need a bit of support, talking to someone is a really, really good place to start. And I don't mean seeing a psychologist is expensive. It takes a lot of time to get in. Like even seeing your GP these days is difficult and expensive, but it doesn't have to be a professional. Just talking to anyone, and they might not know the right things to say, but I feel like that's just a very big hurdle that can just take this huge weight off your shoulders.
Exactly. And I think that a great way, it was something I heard that changed my thinking around mental health, was that everybody's got physical health. Most people are aware of what that looks like or what that needs to look like in their life, but we all have a brain, so we all have mental health. Yes, it's can be one in the same a lot of the time, but and one they can feed one another, but being able to section out mental health as a topic on its own, because it powers absolutely everything we do. So if our mental health is declining, then that is just going to impact. It's literally a top-down approach. So being comfortable enough to just know, well, it's not just me, it's not just my mental health. Everybody has it. Anyone with a head that is walking around has mental health. So what that mental health looks like is different for everyone.
That's right. And you've got to remember as well, mental health is what we all want. Mental health is a positive thing. Mental ill health is what a lot of people face. And you don't need to be diagnosed with a mental health disorder for you to need to worry about your mental health. We all, like you said, like we all have to worry about our physical health. We all have to worry about our mental health. So you don't have to be diagnosed to need to worry about it, think about it, and look after it.
Exactly. And Jill, you mentioned as well there are some other strategies that you use to manage your mental health. Can you talk a little bit more about those?
Absolutely. My number one thing is movement. Every single day, I've got to move. And that can look like a lot of things. I think a lot of people get hung up again on what moving should look like, what the perfect workout is, all that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be a workout. Moving can be anything at all. It can be just even at the very basic level. I always, having a toddler, there's always things in bizarre places around the house. So again, now I don't well, I do get frustrated at it, but I also see it as an opportunity to just get some more steps in, to just keep returning all these little things. Like, it's become this little game, and it just jacks up that step count every day. Like many people, I sit at a desk all day for work. You know, it's not good. I have to get up and go. And for me, look, my happy place, I just want to preface this with, I know that there is nothing that stops a conversation and turns someone off more than bringing up being a vegan or doing CrossFit. But I have found my happy place in CrossFit. That's what I love to do. I love it. And I go and do that most days when I can. And when I can't, I just move. I just do anything.
As many getting your steps in, like doing things the long way. I'll do that on occasion, leave things around the house strategically that I need to move. Like I could put them in piles and move them all at once, but then it's like, oh, I might just leave that there and make a little game out of it so that, or dancing. Toddlers love to dance. So
That's
you whack
right.
whack on the wiggles and have a little boogie with your small people.
Exactly. My son likes to think that he's a firefighter and he just wants to go outside and spray plants to put the fires out. Well, I embrace this. We just go on little adventures all the time, and it's just, and also then we're outside, fresh air, vitamin D, all these things. You might think they don't help. They do. They do. There's a scientific backing that shows you that they do. But yeah, movement is my number one. And I know I can tell when I don't make time for it. And that's the key thing here, when I don't make time for it, because guess what? All of us, life is never calming down. It's just not. It's always going to be chaotic. So when I don't make time for it, I turn into, as I say to my son, a snappy crocodile, snappy mummy.
Snappy mummy. No one likes a snappy mummy. No one wants to be a snappy mummy.
No, exactly.
Oh, that's it. A couple of things there that you said. We all have the same amount of hours in the day, right? Making time for it is it's much easier to say, I'm too busy for that, or I've been busy, or okay, but everyone is busy in one way or another. But it's about what you're making time for, what you're actually carving out in your day to, prioritize different things. And when you can't, like I would, with the nutrition program I was doing and having set workouts, like a couple workouts a week, which is not a lot, like very low level. And I was just finding it really difficult to get to the workouts because I'd either have to do them while I was working. So I'd be listening to a call, or I'd save a recording or something and be like, right, I'll do my workout while I listen to that. So it's productive. But sometimes I would find myself just doing the workout. I'm like, just do it with the toddlers. Just do it with them. So I would be on the floor doing like side lying hip abductions, like they're crawling all over me, and it's probably wasn't the best workout result that I could have got for myself.
They think it's fun. It's a game.
Yeah, it's a game, and they're wondering what I'm doing because they rarely see me, formally exercising.
Oh, you know what? Use them as weights. The toddler workout, they're good. Yeah. They're good resistance, and they're a good weight.
Yeah, you pick something up that's 12 to 20 kilos of wriggling person. It's gonna be, you're gonna be increasing your muscle strength for sure.
Absolutely. Picking something up alone is good, but picking up something up that does not want to be picked up, that's good resistance training for you.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so also Jill, pulling out of the newsletter. So the lies we're all sold about how to look after yourself. I guess that dovetails into this topic. So tell me some examples, if you can recall, some lies that you believe you've been told about how to look after yourself and how that maybe doesn't fit in with reality.
Oh, wellness is big business these days, and we're all surrounded by lots of pretty pictures of what looking after yourself should look like. And I know many, many years ago when I was trying to get healthier, I was lapping all that up. Like, oh, a juice cleanse, that'll fix everything. Or, oh, if I have green smoothies, that'll fix everything. Or if I have the perfect athleisure wear to do my Pilates class in, that'll fix everything. And yeah, aesthetics are great on Instagram, but it doesn't always translate to real life. And I think that makes so many people stop before they even start. But looking after yourself, the everyday, it's not very glamorous, but it's just about making little choices, making little tweaks over and over and over and over and over again That's what actually works. But when you're constantly surrounded by all of these beautiful pictures, I think we so easily correlate that with what I'm doing it won't work, it's not relevant, it's not enough. But doing juice cleanse, spoiler alert, not good. Don't do it.
Look, I've never done one, but I have to say I'm very interested in doing one, but maybe I won't. I think as well, the like programs or inspiration that is not sustainable, trying to, okay, right, we're going to do a complete overhaul because if I do a juice cleanse into Pilates class subscription, into 10 to 12,000 steps a day, 7 days a week, into vegan diet, those things might actually suit some people, but or there might be bits and pieces of those things that might suit other people, but figuring out what fits into your life, what you can do sustainably. And like you said, doing the little things, do the little things well, and then they'll stack up to being big things that are looking after your mental and physical health and not, I guess, Instagram as a tool is cheap. I think the foundation of it was to be aspirational, which it very much is. And obviously now it's kind of funny with the meme threads and what have you, but it is ultimately an aspirational tool. And if you're in that great mindset and you're looking for it, then that's something you can lean on, but it's not always reality. And being able, if you can fit in a Pilates class once a week, once a fortnight, once a month, if it makes you feel good and you got there and you got some time to yourself, that's a win in it on a different scale. So yes, I agree with you. I think we're told lots of lies.
That's right. And what you just said just then is so important. If it makes you feel good. If it doesn't, don't do it. Find something else. Like if someone wanted to drag me to a Zumba class, that would be my idea of hell. And that's someone else's heaven. Like you've got to find the things. I had a friend last week. She said, I should go for a run. I said, why? She said, oh, I haven't moved. I haven't done anything. I said, do you like running? She said, no. Like, why should you go for a run then? That's ridiculous. Go for a walk. If you're going to enjoy the walk more, you actually burn a fairly similar amount of calories doing a 5K walk versus a 5K run. Obviously, the run's going to take you less time. Just go for a walk because you know what? You might like it, and then tomorrow you might want to do it again. If you're just constantly doing things that you hate, you're never going to do them again. Nor should you. Life is not here just to punish yourself.
No, there's enough challenges that we face that get tricky and make situations difficult. But when it comes to wellness and creating spaces and activities that are to your benefit, you may as well pick the ones you like because, great point. If you don't like it, well, she might have gone for that run, hated it, and then not gone for a run again and done nothing in between for another month. And then 12
beat months tell me I should go for a run again.
I remember I was hell-bent on getting in, like after I had each baby, I was like, right, I'm going straight back to, I'm going to Pilates. I took up Pilates. I had never done Pilates before, but I heard it was very good for postnatal recovery. And so that's what I did. And I was going to a Mums and Bubs class, and the studio I was at the lift kept breaking, or they always had tradesmen in it on the day that I was going. And I'm trying to cart 2 small children, like postpartum, up the stairs of this place. And then I would get to my destination finally to have a lay down and, do my mat Pilates for a bit and then jump onto the reformers. But meanwhile, well, we've got the baby was asleep, so that was good at the time. Toddler's running around, climbing on all the equipment. So I'm sort of trying to keep, I know it's a Mums and Bubs class, so they welcome it, but you can't help but feel very responsible for your toddler putting their fingers in between the springs. And you're trying to keep an eye on that. And I did it for like a little while, and then sometimes I wouldn't take our youngest, like I wouldn't take our son, so I could just take our toddler or vice versa. So then I'd be organising mum to come over and look after whoever I wasn't taking that day. So it was just like this whole thing that was just like, I'm taking time out of mum's day. I'm coordinating with her, fitting in with her schedule. I'm hauling all these little peeps to a class upstairs when probably the lift is going to be broken. It was cold as well. So I just thought, I got to a stage where, and I'm paying money for it.
Exactly. You're paying for the privilege.
Exactly. And I thought, all right, I think I need to reset here. I think what needs to happen is I'm just going to stop doing the Mums and Bubs classes. I'm just going to give it a bit of a breather. And then when I get back on my feet a little bit more, then I'll go to classes, but I might just go by myself. which still involves organising a babysitter, but it was a little bit less rigmarole. But I ended up just hating it. I ended up just literally throwing the towel in and, not wanting to go back. So very valid point and
I
long-winded
absolutely
answer from me.
understand.
Yeah. Now, Jill, while we're on the health and wellness topic, and I said this to Jill a little earlier, I read the Wellness Edited cover to cover, the edition that she sent out in the last couple of weeks about how Jill accidentally stopped drinking. And I'm very keen for you, Jill, to share this with our listeners about your journey.
Absolutely. Look, alcohol was always something that was a big part of my life. I enjoyed a drink. I enjoyed many drinks. It was literally part of my job for a long time. I worked as a restaurant reviewer, a wine writer. I was constantly at events where there was alcohol in abundance, and you don't need to be a wine writer for that to be your existence. Like everywhere we go these days, there's alcohol. I didn't have what you'd traditionally call an alcohol problem, but I really realized that alcohol was causing a lot of problems. And when I was pregnant, I didn't drink. And then after my son was born, I was breastfeeding and he woke up many, many, many times a night. There was never really, I guess, time to fit in a glass of wine. If I was going to have a drink, I would have been really anxious about, do I need to breastfeed? And so that meant it was out of my life for a while. And then, my husband and I went out for dinner one night. My parents were in town from interstate. There was a restaurant across the road from our house. So we popped out as a bit of a treat and we had a bottle of champagne and I had a few glasses and it was lovely. We had a really lovely night together. And we got home and as always does, chaos ensued. And my son was up every 45 minutes for the rest of the night and I couldn't sort of breastfeed him I was panicking about how long it had been and I'm, downloading that app, the Drink Safe app, trying to do the calculations and maths is not my strong point. So it was just chaos. And so we were up all night and I don't know, I just it was bad enough as it was, but the alcohol had just made everything worse. And so after that, I was kind of just a bit nervous to have anything to drink, so I just didn't. And then after a while, just all these glorious things started to happen. So speaking of anxiety, I had no idea how much drinking was increasing my anxiety. It's like someone just turned the volume down.
Wow.
Which was crazy. And so not too long actually after I did it, my husband actually stopped drinking as well. And he's the same. He works in an industry, as there are many of them, where there's booze everywhere. There's all these events and everyone stays out. And so I think especially he also was very nervous about how that would go down and how he'd be perceived amongst colleagues and that sort of thing. At the time, because we were having some struggles with sleep or lack thereof, and we picked up a gelato messina habit as our little treat to get through some of the nights. Anyway, both of us just started dropping off weight, to a concerning degree. I went to the doctor convinced that I was dying and had them test me for absolutely everything. I'm very grateful that nothing came up, but all that she could put it down to was the not drinking. But just the sleep we were able to get, even in those little broken up things, your sleep, oh my goodness, this deep restorative sleep. It's like I hadn't had proper sleep. Even before I had a baby, I don't think I'd had that sleep properly in a long time. And it's amazing kind of as the time goes, how you feel is too delightful to trade for having a drink again. And I guess it's been nearly 3 years now for me. And
wow.
I have no desire to have a drink. My husband still goes out to lots of events and he doesn't drink and he finds it amazing how often when he brings it up, how much other people now are like, I didn't drink for a few months and I'm actually thinking of sticking this out. Yeah. Oh, and skin. Skin was the other thing. I had just fought with skin breakouts and just for years and years and then tried all the things and just cleared up. It takes quite a few months for all these things to kind of kick in. All your organs go through this whole repair stage. It's incredible what happens in the body when you don't drink. But unfortunately, just giving it up for a week isn't going to give you all these benefits. Sorry, people do ask me that. But yeah, honestly, the hardest part is that so many places have really lame options. I went to a really nice dinner the other night and the option was Pepsi Max or orange juice. I was wearing, we were like dressed up in black tie at a fancy event, and that was my option to, anyway, I had sparkling water.
I was about to say, or a
It's my
glass of
drink of
sparkling
choice
water.
now. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? And thank you, Jill, for sharing that. I think it's a very personal journey, and it's very inspiring to hear that you have done that, and that it just the way of life that you had as a pregnant person and as a breastfeeding mum, and how those habits that you have to instill in your life when you are going through that period of time can have just bled into your normal life, and that your husband is also sort of come along in solidarity as well, but for his own journey and his own purpose as well. And the fact that he's having conversations at these events, and it is actually quite surprising. I notice it being pregnant, like how many people actually don't drink or don't drink that much, because before being pregnant, same as you, like I always wanted your job, and I think I kind of got to skirt around the outsides of it, in my early 20s, but going to restaurants, doing dining reviews, and it's free food, free wine, like why wouldn't I? And then, having that mindset, like you go to something, oh, what drinks are they going to have? Oh, is there going to be a bar? Or, oh, what, let's have some pre-drinks or whatever that, but then when you have to shift and you look forward to different things, like for now, I look forward to the food, like what food's going to be available, or I look forward to the dessert. Like you said, you've got to substitute with your Messina addiction. It's nice to have, we've now got a whole bunch of Donata ice creams in our freezer because that's our little nightly treat at the moment. So finding substitutes and learning about, different things to look forward to, or looking forward to an early bedtime. That's what I look forward to. I'm like, oh, great, an event starts at 6. That means I could be home by 9. I can still get a really good night's sleep. We're going to have some yummy food. Hopefully they have dessert. And then, rather than thinking about the alcohol, but having the conversations with people as well. I've had a few friends. I've got one friend in particular. So proud of him. He was like, the rest of us, and he went on a non-drinking journey, and his goal was 12 months initially, or it might have been even shorter than that. Anyway, he seemed to breeze through it with flying colors, and I think he'll be coming up to nearly 2 years of not drinking as well, because he's just like, I just can't even think, like what you said, Jill, you just can't even, life is too delightful. That's so nice to even think about kind of ruining it with a glass of champagne or having a night out on the booze. So
Absolutely.
I think, that's a really nice message, and a very reassuring message for anybody thinking about taking alcohol out of their life, or maybe just not prioritizing it as much anymore.
People just really, I think, can see what they're gonna, or what they think they're gonna miss out on. And the reality is you're not gonna miss out on anything, but the things you gain, you can't even see or understand. So,
And really the only thing you're missing out on is quality restorative sleep.
yeah. And, I know no one wants to hear this, but I actually had someone the other day who was a medical specialist say to me, we were talking about this, and he said the reality is if they tried to get alcohol approved in Australia now, based on all of our regulatory standards, probably wouldn't happen. Based on everything we know and all the research about what alcohol does to the body, probably wouldn't get approved in Australia.
That's crazy.
That's like I said, people probably don't want to know that, but yeah.
No, look, it's fascinating. I was watching the news because that's what I like to do at the moment. The other night, Coles was reporting their figures, and for the year, I think it was financial year, whatever, and liquor sales had dropped around the country for Coles, like their Liquorland or whatever their brand is. But I thought, isn't that fascinating? I thought they still have non-alcoholic options which they can be selling, but sales in alcohol overall had dropped in the last 12 months. Obviously more people are not drinking or not drinking as much. And I was like, oh, it's because I've been pregnant for the last 3 years. The Coles liquor sales have gone down.
That's right. You're causing a national emergency, Katey.
No, but that's interesting. I do always wonder that. I'm like, alcohol is so easy to get, so easy to buy. No one regulate, like, obviously it's got some regulations, but that compared to, and I had a conversation in a different podcast about accessing different prescription medication for different things and how difficult that can actually be. But you can walk into a liquor store and buy 5 bottles of tequila and no one will question you. Like
That's exactly right. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Some of the other things
Mm.
we're regulated against. Yeah. It's wild when you compare it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jill, on the sleep topic, let's jump back to that. You've touched on it a little bit here, Jill, with your son, but also with you and your husband. But a topic I think our listeners would be very interested to hear your experience on is a kid that struggles in the sleep department, like overall, what they can be like, and throwing your money at solutions that don't work.
Yeah. Look, nothing triggers me like sleep stuff. This is my it's my bad place. I don't think I realized how much I enjoyed sleep. None of us do until it's taken away from us, right? But
Mm.
yeah, look, weirdly, actually, my son slept through the night at 10 weeks old. And we're like, oh, we've nailed this. This is great. And then the night before he turned 4 months old, he had the 4-month regression, which everyone hears about. And it's never gone away. He's more than 3 now. He would wake up about 8 times a night, which is what he was at that time. And then it got to a point where he wouldn't sleep unless I was holding him. I spent 3 weeks sitting up in a couch in a way that we figured out we could prop him up to try and sleep so I could hold him. Absolutely not SIDS approved. Nobody do this. Because it was the only way we could get him to sleep. I was sitting up, waking up constantly terrified that whether he was breathing. Yeah, I actually do remember going to a GP just crying one day, and she told me a very similar story about what she did. And she's like, this is what I have to tell you about sleep. This is what I did. And yeah, I could have hugged her. It was so sweet to know that a medical professional, you just got to do what works. But anyway, after those 3 weeks, and I felt like I'd been on an international flight for 3 weeks, when you're sitting up and yeah, we knew we had to do something. So and of course, like everyone initially, I didn't want to sleep train, want to all the magical stories that you tell yourself. So yeah, we worked with a sleep trainer. And it became very apparent very quickly that my son is low sleep needs. So he doesn't need as much sleep as other kids, basically. Because I was just stressing out about how little sleep he was getting. Because, you're reading all the websites about how many hours they're supposed to sleep for. And, because I was just losing my mind. That was my gospel and he wasn't meeting it. And I was just freaking out, and because he cried all the time, like he's obviously tired. So yeah, we worked with a sleep trainer who was so beautiful and lovely and really gave us so much more of her time and help than we paid for. She was amazing. Ultimately, we got some improvements. We got him sleeping in bed. So you know what? That's the biggest win. But other than that, not much happened. So then we got sent to called Trazillion in Canberra, one of those sleep hospitals. Yeah, basically my boy failed. They told us that some kids are just shit sleepers. That was what we left with. And
my
and they also
gosh.
told me he does cry a lot. Have you been to the doctor to check that out? Anyway, there was not something worse that you could have told Jill in that moment, I can guarantee you. So yeah, from then on we were just left to our own devices to try and find anything. I've Googled, I feel like I've seen every part of the internet on sleep. I've looked up anything just in case there's something that I can find that, helped. It was just so hard because, again, as that type A perfectionist, I think that I can solve these things. And I think if I throw enough energy and wisdom and money at the solution at the problem, that you'll find a solution. That has been a very good lesson. I think that we've got to accept the circumstances and you've got to roll with it. So look, these days he does sleep through the night some nights. Last night he slept through the night, which is great. He still doesn't sleep through the night a lot of nights. He's a lot better than he was, admittedly. Like I've met people who still have 7-year-olds who won't sleep through the night. So, I'm absolutely not complaining. We've gone a long way. The low sleep needs is tough because he doesn't he doesn't have a nap. He just sleeps at night, and sometimes that's 8.5 hours. So by the time I've put him to bed and then get into bed myself, I'm never getting 8 hours because I try and get up before. So yeah, that I still struggle with that. But for anyone out there who has a low sleep needs kid, I hear you. Let's create a trauma support group. Like it's tough.
That's a very interesting. I've never heard that before. I've heard about it in adults that, like, some people can just find surviving on 4 or 5 hours a night sleep and they're just, into it the rest of the time. And then other people, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me because I'm a high needs sleeper. I need, like, if I don't get like 8 to 12 hours, I'm dead. But I mean, I am pregnant, so that's probably why. So I'm a very high needs, but I'm high needs in lots of departments, not just sleep. Let's make that clear. But for children, for children, I had no idea that was a whole. So that was actually a diagnosis for your son. Is that right, Jill? Like
Well, I guess yeah, it's just something they tell you. But yeah, it is a thing. It is a thing. So I also did not know about it. I am definitely not low sleep needs. I love sleep. I don't know where he got it from, but yeah, it's
so it's not
just
genetic. It's not a
and
hereditary
also
thing.
no. And the other thing as well, just in case anyone out there who's struggling needs to hear it, yeah, the constant crying, which I thought was because he was tired. At the time, we got him checked out for a lot of things, and I had multiple people or doctors and specialists say to me, that kid wants to talk. And I would just be in the car on the way home crying to my husband, like they're palming me off. It's shit that they think I want to hear. Anyway, that kid talked before he walked. So, and he's never shut up since. So maybe there was some truth in that.
But like you said, it's totally unhelpful in the moment because you're like, okay, cool, he wants to talk. Great, great, great. What do we do about the screaming though? And how are we going to get him to sleep? And we all learn, like having little people, when their cries we pay the most attention to because they have different cries for different things, and that's the only way they can communicate because they can't talk yet. And we nail it down to a few things. They need a nappy change, they're tired, or they're hungry. They're pretty basic little people, but when the crying doesn't stop and you've ticked all of those boxes, and you've probably been ticking those boxes all night long, and your baby still won't sleep. Like I said, or like I was talking about earlier with Jill in the Save Our Sleep book, at the start of it, it outlines how sleep deprivation was used as a form of torture in war times. And it's literally what so many parents go through because there's no time to rejuvenate. You are on the clock 24/7 and you're stressed because you, at the same time, you think maybe there's something wrong. And the advice you're getting is just not doing it. Was there a moment, Jill, or a point in time that things started to change in a positive way for you? Or do you think it was the understanding of that he had low sleep needs that you were like, okay, well, let's play to his sort of strengths and get him to sleep as much as possible so that you could get some normality back? Was there a particular point in time that sort of stood out to you for the positive change?
Yeah, I think what changed was us and our expectations, because you can't get a kid to do things. They do what they want on their own timeline, right? And the only thing that has helped for him has just been age and growing up. That's the only thing that's helped. But yeah, when I guess I wasn't so stressed about how little sleep he was getting, maybe that helped because my expectations weren't so high. We're trying to put him to bed at a time that a child his age should go to bed, and based on how many hours he'd been awake, based on how many hours he should be awake. And then we were there with him for 2 hours before he'd go to sleep. And that was just doing our heads in. So I guess relaxing our expectations around that and realizing that he wasn't tired, and just because he should be tired, he wasn't tired. And I think all that helped was us changing our expectations and our behavior. Yeah, age and getting older was the only thing that helped with the sleep.
I think that in itself is amazing advice, is shifting your expectations that was your honest experience. But if we can manage our own expectations you're not expecting him to sleep 12 hours a night. You know that he's probably going to sleep his 8.5 hours and then he's going to be totally fine for the next day. But you've adjusted that thinking so that you're not being disappointed every single day. And again, paying attention to each individual child because they are all completely different. None of them are the same. The two that live in my house are different. I thought they were the same there for a while, but I don't think so. All right, ladies. Well, I just want to say a huge thank you to Jill Hogan from Wellness Edited, mum, entrepreneur, businesswoman, journalist, writer, storyteller, and good friend of mine. I think we've learnt a lot, and it was certainly valuable hearing Jill's experience talking about, health, mental health, anxiety, sleepless nights, and quitting alcohol. That was a very nice packaged up conversation, in my opinion. So thank you so much, Jill, and to our listeners, I hope you got something valuable out of this episode. So subscribe, follow, do all the things. I'll include Jill's link as well so that you can subscribe to Jill's newsletter as well, so that you can continue on her journey and picking up some more useful information as you go along. So for now, we will see you shortly on the next episode of The Wing. Thank you. Bye. Bye.